Want to know how you can gain access to capital to jumpstart your journey to entrepreneurial success? For entrepreneurs who are just starting out or those who have been in business for years, Minority Business Access is your podcast. Welcome to our show, where we will guide you in avoiding the pitfalls and thriving in your chosen business. Now, on to the show with your host, Solomon Ali.
I hope everyone is staying safe during this COVID-19 and practicing social distances. Minorities, we're being hit so hard. So it's very important that you practice social distancing, wear a mask, keep your circles to your family and friends so that way you're not bringing anything to them and they're not bringing anything to you. Guys, really keep your circles very small. If you don't need to go out to restaurants and things of that nature right now, cook a really good home meal and have a good conversation. That's always an awesome thing to do. Catch up. And so exercise a lot. So if you look like me, please practice social distancing. We got many things that we want to do this year and things that we want to talk about. So trying to help you to get prepared. A lot of you have already seen a lot of employers got you working from home. So some of you won't be coming back to a brick and mortar building to work from a brick and mortar building. Some of you will be working as a independent contractor or a subcontractor. And that's one of the things that we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about a sole proprietorship. We're going to talk about limited partnerships or partnerships. We're going to talk about LLCs. We're going to talk about S corporations, and we're going to talk about C corporations, or pretty much most people don't even call them C corporations. They just call them corporations. We're not going to go into detail because what we're going to do later is kind of break each segment down and go more into the specifics of how that will actually help you and which one might be the best for you to actually utilize. And hopefully we can also share why it may be the best so that you can actually get the most and the best benefits from the one that you choose and feel that it'll meet your needs. Okay? So what we're going to do today is we're going to start with sole proprietorships. Years ago, and when I say years ago, I'm talking about I was in probably my 20s, right out of the military. And I think that was pretty much the first business how I started. I just went out, gave it a business name and things of that nature. And the sole proprietorship is risky. Here's why it's risky. Because it's really attached to your name and your social security. It provides you no protection whatsoever. So if something was to happen or go wrong, they're able to come after you and your assets, things like that. It provides you no tax advantages or anything like that, other than if you're basically self-employed working as a sole proprietor. Okay, all the taxes, you don't have the double taxation and things like that. But we're going to talk about all of that in each and every segment about what that really looks like and what it means. Now, understand, I'm not a tax professional or anything of that nature. I just have a lot of years of experience of working with tax attorneys, CPAs, accountants, and things of that nature. So I just learned a handful of things along the way and which actually works the best. So we'll talk about that. But if you're trying to think about and you think, well, maybe my money is a little bit funny right now at the time and the sole proprietorship is the way you should go, let's wait until you get all the information. Let's get educated on it. Let's talk about what a sole proprietorship is, what it actually means, risks that you would be exposing yourself and your family to, and things of that nature that you may not be aware of. So sometimes just doing something because it's the most frugal way to do it could end up being the most costly way to actually do it. So let's not just jump out quite yet and jump out there and say we're going to do a sole proprietorship, because there's a lot of factors. I like financing, raising money for companies. So sometimes as a sole proprietor, it's a little more difficult to raise money for companies. Okay. And so again, we're going to talk about those things. For me, I would be looking at, if I'm looking at a sole proprietorship, it probably wouldn't fit me. Knowing what I know today, I probably wouldn't have done one back in the day, but definitely not now, because I want to have access to capital. I want to be able to raise capital. Okay. And I don't want the pain to come home. And yes, that's what I said. I don't want the pain to come home. What I'm saying is I don't want people to be able to sue sue me and take whatever I may have or anything of that nature. And I'm pretty sure you feel the exact same way. The next entity or structure we're going to be referring to or talking about today on Minority Business Access is going to be limited partnerships and limited liability companies or partnerships. Okay. In fact, I said that incorrectly. There's no such thing as limited partnerships as a structure, but there is a partnership or a joint venture. So we're going to talk about that, and then we're going to talk about the limited partnerships and how they actually work and what that actually means. Okay. The next thing that we're going to refer to on MBA, on Minority Business Access, is going to be partnerships and joint ventures. What's the difference between a partnership and a joint venture? What it actually means, what it could actually do for you. Does it provide any protections for you? Does it help you, or can it help you with financing and things of that nature? And can it actually minimize your risk? Okay. And it's very important right now, especially right now in the current day and age that we're living in under COVID-19, is for everyone to understand getting your structure right. The right structure for you is going to mean everything. It could be the difference between you being successful and you failing. Okay. I know a lot of attorneys and things of that nature have a few minute conversation with you, and they'll get an idea of your concept of what it is that you may want to do. And then they'll just go ahead and say, oh, okay, do this particular structure. We don't want to do that. What we really want to do is have you, one, to first you understand what the differences are. And so today, again, as I said, we're just going to kind of go through the outline of all the different structures. And what we're going to be going over later is we're going to do a podcast or an episode on each and every one. So like we will do a podcast and we'll talk about, hey, what does it mean to be in a partnership or to have a partnership or to have a joint venture? What does that mean? What does it look like? What is your risk? What is your exposure? Are you able to raise capital, or will it be difficult to raise capital? Will it be challenging to draw a team and get them aboard and wanting to work with you and participate? Because see, when you're starting out, a lot of you are going to probably start where I started, especially if you look like me. Okay. So if you're a person of color or you're a minority, you may have a few dollars, but your money is very thin, or as I used to say, my money's funny. So I didn't have enough money just to go out and say, okay, I can just write checks endlessly for what everybody wanted to do. So I had to get people to buy in and want to work with me and things like that. So that means you got to pick the right structure, because you may have to give them some equity in the company. And what does that look like? Okay. And you may want to be able to redeem or buy that equity back. What does that look like? So those are the kind of things that we're actually going to be talking about. And so we'll move on to the next one. The next thing that we're going to talk about is going to be a S corporation. Yes, guys, a S corporation. It's a corporation. It typically have less than 75 people with less than 75 shareholders. And normally, okay, you want to have what's called accredited shareholders. Accredited shareholders are people who have a particular net worth. And their net worth, okay, is very important because it helps to minimize the risk, okay, to you as well as to them. Basically, them being accredited investors really mean one simple thing, that they can stand to take the loss and that they're educated enough about business matters to be able to make a sound decision. They have a certain net worth that if they lost all their money, it wouldn't make them broke or something of that nature. Okay. And we'll go into what that net worth for accredited investor is. We'll also talk about, again, should you have 10 million shares to capitalize your company? Should you have 100 million shares? What should the par value be? Okay. Par value, PAR value. What should that be? What should it look like? Those are the things that are very important. And when you're just starting in a business, you're not going to have any idea. Okay. And if you're just paying someone to do a transaction, here's the thing, guys. they're going to tell you what it is. And at the end of the day, they're going to take your money, do the transaction. They provided the service. That's it. Okay. You don't want that. Okay. We've talked about on other episodes. You've heard me probably talk about it on the radio and things of that nature. Some of the things that are extremely important is placing a team of experts who are very good at what it is that they do in their field. So whether that's an attorney, you want the best attorney who's known for doing what he does. Okay. If it's accounting, same thing. So you want to build the best solid team. What you want to do is have people around you who are smarter than you, people who are thinking ahead. Okay. That's what the people that you want. Okay. And you're sharing your vision with them. And so it's very important when we look at structures and choosing the right structure. So the next, we're going to talk about corporations. I refer to them as C corporations. Your attorney will probably refer to it as a C corporation. Now, a C corporation, a lot of people really don't like it. And here's the reason why. Because a C corporation normally provides, well, it doesn't provide. You're going to have what's called a double taxation because you're going to be an employee of a C corporation. Okay. So the corporation itself is taxed as a legal entity. Okay. And I've shared with you guys before what a legal entity is. So I'm just going to briefly say a legal entity is a human being. So when we're talking about a corporation, okay, we're talking about a human being. Only thing a corporation can't do that you and I can do is think for itself. And that's where the board of directors come in. So I want you to understand that, okay? What is a corporation? A corporation is a legal entity. It's a human being. It exists under the law and have the same rights that you and I have, okay? Very important to understand. It's a legal entity. It's a human being. It have the same rights that you and I have. The only thing that we can do that legal entity can't do is as a natural human, we can think for ourselves. As an artificial human, that corporation needs a board of directors to think for it. Okay. And again, that goes back to the previous things that I've spoken about, why it's so important to handpick a board of directors who are skilled in various aspects, whether it's the legal field, whether it's finance, whether it's marketing. So we don't go out and just pick a board of directors because it's our family and friends. That's the fastest way to make a business fail and to get in trouble. We pick a board of directors who can bring stuff to the table, who understand what a legal entity is, who understand how to move your business forward. Okay. So we'll talk about that, and we're going to spend quite a bit of time. Also, I like C corporations, as I said. I like them because they're easy to capitalize. They're easy to fund. They're easy to bring people into your vision and share the equity with them. See, I like sharing. Okay. And if you like sharing, what we all learned in kindergarten, right? It's like in kindergarten, what did you learn? Hey, if I bring some candy for me, I need to bring enough for everyone, right? So same in business. All right. If you want everyone to participate in your vision and things of that nature, you need to be willing to share the equity of that company so that they can participate and have some ownership, things like that, and not be so worried about whether or not someone will steal your company or do things like that. Okay. So that is very important. So we'll talk about a C corporation. We'll talk about double taxation, what that looks like. We'll also look at some of the risk. I like also a C corporation because as a legal entity, the corporation is liable. So if someone's sued, they're suing that entity. They're not suing me personally. So what I like to refer to, and you'll hear this a lot, I'm not taking the pain home. You don't want to take the pain home. If you make a mistake in business, you don't want to lose your home or your wife. For those of you who are not married, you don't want to lose your significant other, but you want to be able to keep the things that you have accumulated. You don't want all the extra added stress. So we'll talk about the advantages there and the disadvantages as a C corporation. And the last thing I want to talk about is a lot of attorneys and a lot of people are out there pushing what we call limited liability companies. Limited liability companies. You probably know them as LLCs. LLCs are a really good way to go sometime. But again, you got to be careful. When you're looking at a limited liability company, it normally operates from what's called a operating agreement. Okay. And so from that operating agreement, that's the Bible. That's the law. It governs what you should be doing, what you can't do, and things of that nature within that company. And so even there, it could bring you some exposure, okay, some risk. So we're going to talk about what that limited liability company is, whether or not it's a good vehicle for actually raising capital. Some people like it. I like it from time to time, depending on what it is that I'm doing. Because see, like if I'm buying something, I like to have a LLC to place the assets in the LLC. So in other words, I'm going to give you a simple scenario. If I buy a house, I will place the house in the LLC. So I will create a brand new LLC, place the house in, place the business in, whatever it is that I'm buying, I will place that in the LLC. So if I made a mistake or did something wrong under the law, I have protection. The person will come after me, okay, and be able to sue me, but they wouldn't be able to sue that LLC for my mistake. Well, guess what? Here's a really funny thing. Guess what? If the LLC did something wrong, they can't come after me. Okay, so they have to go after the LLC. And that is also provided in some of the other entities that we have mentioned early on. But that's primarily what a LLC was designed for. Another nice thing about it is it's a quick way to pay out dividends. Okay, so let's say we might buy a business. 10 of my friends, we joined together to buy a business. Each of them will have what we call membership interest. And we're able to pay out whatever that pro rata share is in dividends. So again, yes, I said that. Pay out the pro rata share in dividends to each one of the members. So you don't really have to worry about anyone cheating you or anything of that nature, because again, it's governed by its operating agreement and it's a legal entity and stuff. So it provides a lot of protection in some ways, but it's not the vehicle that you use all the time. It's a vehicle that you have to be very shrewd, okay, when you're setting up your strategies and how you're going to use it. So a lot of times I might use them in conjunction with a holding company that may be a corporation that will buy an asset and then it will place that asset in a LLC. So that's how we use it in different ways and stuff like that. So we'll go into that. So that's what we wanted to cover today with Minority Business Access. So we just kind of wanted to get you ready and all excited. For those of you who are knowing that, oh, wow, I really want to go into business and business is what I want to do. I don't want to work for someone else. And under the current conditions and things of that nature, guys, I don't blame you, because with COVID-19, people might not be going back to the brick and mortar and working from an office setting. With artificial intelligence out there, it's going to be taking over a lot of jobs. So most of the jobs out there is going to actually be independent contractors and things like that. And you're not going to want to be an independent contractor and giving out everybody your social security number and having all the risk and the exposure coming directly to you and all that pain. You don't want to bring the pain home. Okay. So you're going to want to be able to pick one of these particular vehicles that is going to suit you and meet the needs of you and your family. You're going to want to protect your family. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay. So knowing that, hey, if you're serious about becoming an entrepreneur and that's what you want to do, you're watching the climate that we live in today and you understand that it's changing, okay? And you're knowing that, hey, I'm going to have to go out there and work. You don't want to go out there and work just as your name or as Solomon Ali. You want to be able to go out there and work under the proper legal entity. And that means you have to educate yourself a little bit about which entity is the best entity for you, for the strategy and the things that you're going to be trying to achieve. Okay, so that's very important. And those are the things we're going to go over, and we'll probably talk about 30, 40 minutes on each and every one, cover all the do's and the don'ts and the risk and things like that. Which ones will give you the greatest financing capability? Which ones give you the greatest capability for bringing in people who can help you and who want to grow your vision and your dream with you, and also which ones that are best based on what you're trying to achieve to not bring the pain home, to limit your exposure, your risk of liability. So I want to thank you again so very much for tuning in to Minority Business Access. And one of the things I want you guys to keep in mind, if you haven't gotten one of our smart home technology packages, go to our website, pull up the smart home technology, get it for your parents. With everything that's going on now, crime is going to go up. So you want to make sure your parents are protected, your loved ones are protected, your friends. You'll be able to unlock the doors, go check on them, send a neighbor over if you can't get to your parents or something of that nature, and you'll be able to see them and monitor them, know what's actually going on. And so go to our website and be able to pull up the smart technology, get it. The monitoring fees are very, very frugal. So that's one of the things that each and every one of you should do. If you're looking at the business that you're going to have in a brick and mortar and have employees, it may be a really great idea to go ahead and get one of our smart systems as well for that. So I'm not going to keep going on about that because I can go on about that forever. And it just came off the top of my head to talk about it and to mention it because I haven't mentioned it before. But we're going to start talking about some of the different technologies and the things that we have and we offer that will actually help keep you and your family safe. So one of the things I like about our smart technology for offices is I know who's in the office and when they're in the office. Okay, so that's pretty cool. That's pretty neat. The other thing is, hey, you got codes. Everybody got their own keys and things like that. So that's pretty cool too. Again, guys, thank you all so much for tuning in to Minority Business Access. I hope you found what we shared today to be of some value. The episodes that are coming next, talking about the various entities and the various structures, will be of great, great value to you and your family, and ensuring that you do not bring the pain home and that you protect them. Thanks for tuning in to MBA, Minority Business Access.
You've reached the end of another episode of the Minority Business Access podcast. Connect with us at solomonrcali.info to leave a review and access more resources. We hope you enjoyed this show and found great value. See you at the next episode.